Israel has approved the U.S. brokered ceasefire with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Joining us for some insight on this is Rice University Baker Institute scholar Richard Sindelar. Richard, always a pleasure. All right, so this deal, I believe, takes effect at 4 a.m. in the Middle East, and Israel is reportedly still making airstrikes there in Beirut. So what do you make of this ceasefire?
Well, it's not uncommon in a ceasefire that everybody tries to get that last shot in, the last attack. So they put out an evacuation order just an hour or two ago. So I would expect in the nightfall their time, there's going to be several attacks up into maybe at 3:59 before the 4 o'clock deadline.
Yeah, and Hezbollah, one of these proxy groups for Iran. So what do you think Iran will be doing here? How will they react to this deal?
I think they're in favor of it only because they need to rebuild Hezbollah. The more Hezbollah attacks Israel, the more likely it is that Israel might also reflect that and re-attack Iran again. So I think Iran wants to refit, Hezbollah wants to refit, and the IDF talks about refitting and rearming. So it's going to be a ceasefire that I expect most people are going to honor for a few weeks anyway.
Okay, so you think this will last for a couple of weeks?
Probably. I would not be surprised if it didn't last till into January just because of the refitting need. And the Israelis talk about rearming, which is a very interesting question. I wonder if Netanyahu made a remark about needing to rearm and add weapons, whether or not there was some back channel twisting of arms by Blinken and others. A delay, a slowing down of weapons delivery, kind of to force them to think a little more clearly about a ceasefire.
Yeah, so when you talk about ceasefire, that's just one part of the conversation here. As we turn to Gaza, do you think this has any implications or hope towards a ceasefire in Gaza, or much of the same?
I think Iran and Hezbollah have given up on Hamas. I think Hamas is going to be on its own for this. That said, the IDF, which usually fights wars in 1 and 2 weeks, has been at it over a year fighting Hamas in Gaza. So I don't see any sudden IDF victory. I don't see any sudden release of the hostages. I see that dragging on almost like the IDF's Afghanistan for another few months, maybe.
And how do you think, as we approach January 20th, new administration coming in here, how do you think a Trump administration will differ from a Biden administration, especially as we go towards more of what's happening there in Gaza?
Actually, not very little. If anything, Trump would be, President Trump would be even more in favor of supporting Israel, even more in favor of giving arms to Israel, more in Israel's camp. But Biden, as a historical Cold War warrior who believes in Israel, his talk today was clear indication that he's foursquare behind Israel. So there's not much space between Trump and Biden on, between Trump and Biden on Israel.
All right, Richard Sindelar, thank you so much for your perspective. Much appreciated as always.